Good morning. It looks like Ted Cruz won the Republican half of the Iowa caucus last night, and the Donald had to settle for a second place finish. But with that said, that's not what's on my mind today. What I want to talk about this morning is the whole Donald Trump phenomena. Now, anyone that's seen one of my blogs is sure to know that I'm a strong supporter of conservative values. I'm proud to tell you that my views often result in brash insults from lefties. However, if you're a staunch Trump supporter, you may not like everything that I'm about to say, but please bear with me, hear me through. On the positive side, Mr. Trump is saying things that need to be said. He is forcing the press to put issues on the table that the thought police don't want you to think about, much less talk about. He thumbs his nose at the political correctness. Bravo, Mr. Trump. Let's hear more of that. We're long overdue for a spokesperson with enough brass below their belt and enough press exposure to challenge the trend toward the implementation of Orwellian thought crimes. On the negative side, Mr. Trump seems to be using strategies right out of the leftist playbook. He utters talking points, and he fails to speak about them in depth. That's what lefties do. He stokes our fears with gasoline. But his solutions are superficial and unrealistic in many times. That's just what lefties do. He seems to just tell us what we want to hear. Maybe that's right out of the lefty playbook. And he demonizes his antagonists and his opponents alike with personal tactics. That's a cheap lefty trick. These are all common methods used by the left. And frankly, I don't find them any more acceptable just because it's coming from someone representing the right. In fact, I find it even more offensive. After all, we have facts on our side. Trump and his brash demeanor certainly captures attention, and maybe that's his strategy. Perhaps he feels there's no such thing as bad publicity. Perhaps he's just using lefty tactics to beat them at their own game. But I ask my friends on the right, is this the way you want to see a United States president behave? It seems to me that this kind of theater is ideal for a reality TV host, but is this really how you want your president to conduct affairs of state? Now please bear with me as I attempt to compare what I see today with something out of the past. Are there parallels between Mr. Trump's methods and those of Senator Joe McCarthy when he led the House Un-American Activities Committee back in the 50s? Now, if you're a younger listener and you don't know much about this, look it up online. But be sure to look at more than just one point of view on this topic. You see, McCarthy led a crusade against communist influence in America. In hindsight, you can easily argue that McCarthy's fear of communism was more than justified. If you don't think communists infiltrated and influenced America, just look at Hollywood today. Take a look at our public educational system today. Take a look at our colleges and our universities. There's no denying that they're a safe haven for radical, hardcore leftist professors who've done little or nothing outside the theoretical arena of academia, but are extraordinarily vocal in pointing out how everybody else should be doing things. Take a look at the White House today and tell me that McCarthy had it wrong. Back in the 50s, America had a deep fear of communism. Today, we fear a handful of fundamental Muslims hijacking an airplane and crashing it into a building and killing thousands. Back in the 1950s, we feared a nuclear exchange with the Soviet Union that would kill millions and millions, destroy entire cities, and take us all back to the Stone Age. Those were real fears. You were better off dead than red was a common saying. The issue back then was not the lack of fear for communism. The issue that brought McCarthy down was his tactics. McCarthy and his committee failed to respect the rules of law. They used inference and innuendo at will, often had no hardcore evidence when making accusations and bringing charges against people. Sort of reminds you of our sitting president, doesn't it? You see, lefties don't seem to mind these tactics when it's one of their heroes that's using them. But that aside, I ask you, had McCarthy not used illegal and deceitful methods that flew in the face of our Constitution, who would have opposed him? Who could have opposed him? What if McCarthy had instead used methods that were clearly constitutional? I wonder, would we be in the situation that we're in today, or would we have nipped the communist influence in the bud? Keeping that in mind, think about Trump's bull in the china shop maneuvers. Did McCarthy save us, or did he open the door for hard left thinking? Now, where there's an action, there's a reaction. And that, of course, is the reason that we see such a support for Trump. The guy in office now has spent 7 years demonizing the right and trying to silence us. My question is, where will Trumpism take us? Now, if you're a lefty, you're probably not still listening, but if you are, you must be delighted that a conservative is criticizing Trump. You're perhaps laughing out loud about the fact that all conservatives don't agree, and we're willing to acknowledge a flaw in one of our nominees. Hey, lefty, ask yourself why not one single person in your circle of socialist comrades can find any fault in anything that Hillary does. Her email scandals, the Benghazi debacle, the IRS targeting conservatives, the blatant corruption of the Clinton Foundation, your persecution of Christian values, the routine slaughter of unborn children. Lefties, do you find it odd that all of you are in lockstep on all of these issues? Lefty, we're looking straight in the eye of a classic symptom of brainwashing. You're a sick puppy. Please go get help. You've been sold a bill of goods by your socialist educators and the propagandists in Hollywood and the mainstream press that America is the main cause of all the problems in the world. I suggest to you that there's a whole lot of us who think that America is the only hope for the world. America as we knew it before Obama was not the problem. America as we knew it before Obama was the solution. Now, my friends on the right, yep, I'm worried about Mr. Trump for the reasons I've already stated. But please know that if Trump is the Republican nominee, I will vote for him. Because getting the socialists and the communist ideologies out of the White House is the only chance that we have in saving America's soul and not losing the values that made us a great civilization. I've heard more than one of you state that you're thinking of staying at home in November if Trump is not the nominee. Remember, after mighty Rome fell, there was a 500-year period that we called the Dark Ages. More than I fear Trump, I fear what this world will look like for our children and grandchildren if yet another lying scumbucket lefty wins the election in November. Thanks for watching. As always, I invite your comments. Signing off for now. See you again soon.
The mama pajama rolled out of bed and she ran to the police station. When the papa found out, he began to shout and he started the investigation. It's against the